The story says coaches, I hate the term, I hate it. I don't know a better way to do it, though. Maybe you do. Coaches on the hot seat in 2023. Right? You've seen it a million times, but hang on a second. There's a different way of looking at this. So guess who is number 1 and 2? And surprisingly, not who number 1 is, but a little bit surprisingly, number 2. So number 1 and 2, they just happen to both be in the state of Texas. They just happen to both be at the 2 biggest programs. And both of them just happen to be the 2 highest paid employees, state employees in the state of Texas by far. I think the president of the University of Texas Medical School System, which happens to also be home to the best cancer hospital on the planet, I believe that person makes about a fourth of what the football coaches make. I think the president of the medical center makes about $1 or $2 million, which is, lunch money to the football coaches. So when Texas A&M and Texas play each other in 2024, the Aggies say they're going to play in Caldwell or else. Okay, or else. I don't know what else is, but that's the mandate that's been set out there. So when they play each other in 2024, forget this story about coaches on the hot seat. There's a different way to look at this. I think it's a way to look at this across the board. But when they do play each other eventually, it's set for 2024. Let's assume it's going to be played on grass in Caldwell. We are told that's where they're going to play. Here's a series of questions for you. Will A, both Jimbo Fisher and Steve Sarkisian be on the sidelines? Setup number 1. B, only Jimbo Fisher will be on the sidelines. Or C, well, there's another one. C, only Steve Sarkisian will be on the sidelines. Or D, and ask yourself, if you were to have to put money on this, where would you fall? Or D, neither will be on the sidelines in 2024. There's the setup. Forget this hot seat stuff. I think it's fair to say, I wonder which one of these guys makes it. I wonder which one is easier to fire. I wonder which one deserves to be fired. It's not an outrageous thing to say by any stretch. It's actually pretty realistic. Now, I think, to add to it, and it's going to sound crazy, but I think wondering if Nick Saban is coaching in that league in 2024. There's a giant setup for what that league looks like in 2024, not just Texas and A&M. So it's reasonable to ask this question. Will Saban be there, Nick Saban be there as well? You can add to it and have an even greater setup, because I don't know that Nick Saban is, quote, on the hot seat. I'm just asking the question is, will any combination of those 3 guys be around in 2024? Here's the setup there. Will Saban, Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, and Steve Sarkisian all be on a sideline in 2024? I didn't say anything about getting fired. I just asked the fundamental question. Will all 3 of them be there? How about none? Will none of them be there? I think all 3 is unlikely to be there. I do. But which one is the better question? I don't think in 2024, I don't think all 3 are there. I think the discussion that ESPN brought up is reasonable and fair. I'm just taking it a different direction, saying, who's really going to be standing on a sideline coaching? Because I don't think all 3 are going to be there. I'm not even quite sure I can make an argument for who deserves to be there, except for one guy. Last year wasn't good enough for any of them, but I rank them in likely 2024 appearances. So how about this? I'll take a shot at it. If we were to bet money, not that I'm encouraging that, but if we were to bet money, meaning you had to make a decision. And if somebody says, well, this is mean, then shut up. What are you talking about mean? They're making $9 million. One of them is making 11. I think it's okay, and I think it's pretty reasonable, because we just now found out what this league is going to look like in 2024. So I'm not quite sure of these 3 super powerful, 2 of whom are super wealthy programs. I'm not sure those coaches are there. I'll say this. Jimbo Fisher, this is going to sound crazy, but I think Jimbo Fisher is most likely to be standing on a sideline in 2024. Of the 3, I think he's most likely. Then I think it is Nick Saban. Then I think it's Steve Sarkisian. It's iffy for all 3. It really is. But my argument for this happening the way that I think it does, and you'll know everything by midseason of next year, I think, except for one of them. My argument goes like this, and don't misunderstand what I think will happen with who is deserving. Deserving is not even part of this equation. It's not. That's not part of my argument. I'm not saying who deserves to be there. I'm saying who will be there. If you use the word deserves to be there, Jimbo Fisher would be done already. He'd be done already. I'm not quite sure Steve Sarkisian wouldn't be done already if just deserves to have the job was there. Nick Saban's got it. He's earned it. We all know that. But deserve doesn't apply to Jimbo Fisher. He's too hard to fire, I think. It would be a remarkable financial coup if they found a way to fire him. He does not deserve to still be coaching, but he's too hard to fire. Of the three, I think he might be the most difficult to fire. How crazy is that? Nick Saban is next, then Steve Sarkisian. Of the three, Steve Sarkisian is and will be, even for the money, even the $6 million, even, that's candy to Texas. But of the three, Steve Sarkisian is the easiest to get rid of. And I think, in a weird way, Jimbo Fisher is the toughest. Nick Saban won't be fired at all. That would be kind of laughable. He won't be fired, and he doesn't deserve to be fired. I can't imagine a scenario in which he deserves to be fired. A bad year was this past year for Alabama, but he doesn't deserve to be fired. The only question with Nick Saban is how much longer does he really want to do it? How much longer does he want to hang around? When does he start to lose interest or not feel it? The other two guys, it's about getting fired. If you're forced to place a bet, and that's what I'm doing, who's there in 2024, since these giant stories are coming out now saying, hey, Oklahoma and Texas A&M, or Oklahoma and Texas bought their way out. They're actually going in the SEC. It's going to happen. I'm not sure it looks the way it does now. I'm not sure at all. In fact, I'm not sure that either of the new programs have the coaches you see now. I'm not sure Brent Venables is coaching in Oklahoma when they play in 2024. How about that? I'll predict that Saban and Jimbo Fisher are there on a sideline in 2024. I would guess and predict, again, you'll know everything probably by October, November of this next year. I think you will. Certainly for one of them. So I think the Jimbo Fisher is stuck there for a while, whatever it looks like. And it hasn't been good enough. He's what? 13. No, he's went 5-7 this past year, 17-9 the last 2 years, and 23-18 against the SEC. It's not terrible. I mean, that's not terrible. It is for a guaranteed 10-year deal, though. It's pretty terrible. But that giant contract is, I think, what keeps him around. The numbers aren't terrible. Steve Sarkisian's, on the other hand, 13-12. Granted, it's for the discounted rate of $6 million a year. 13-12 is completely unacceptable. But Texas has been unacceptable for a while. I think that catches up with him because I think the money is smaller, so it can catch up with him if it doesn't improve dramatically. They're 13-12. We last left them. They have a home game in San Antonio losing to Washington. He's easier, far easier, of the three to get rid of. Fisher will be there, I think. I would love to hear somebody make an argument that all of a sudden a bunch of money just comes to buy him out. I think that's a tough sell. I would have a difficult time saying, well, that's a nice move. I think that's crazy. It's financially crazy. It was financially crazy to do the deal with him. It would be financially crazy to get out of the deal with him. I think he's almost untouchable for a couple of years. Nick Saban, nobody fires. He quits on his own. Steve Sarkisian, I don't know if he makes it there in 2024. I think he's the odd man out. And then if you want to throw Oklahoma in there, Brent Venables after that. So Saban and Fisher are more likely to stick around than the Oklahoma-Texas guys.